Fantastic left hand by Brian Norman
Oh, that's
Jr.
a showstopper.
No bother counting. Get the doctor. Unbelievable knockout from Brian Norman Jr.
Every ringside doctor has that moment. A fighter takes a huge headshot, stumbles, shakes it off, and for a moment, the whole crowd is watching. Do you let them continue and send them back in, or is it time to pull the fighter out? Now, the answer should never just be a gut feeling. There's a science to it, and real protocols you have to follow if you want to protect fighters and your license. I'm Dr. Yomi Adeyemi, board certified urgent care physician and ringside doctor. And this is Ringside Medicine 101. Now, before we get into protocols, let's break down what a concussion actually is, because this word gets thrown around quite a lot, but in reality, most people don't really know. You see, medically, a concussion is a form of mild traumatic brain injury, or MTBI, caused by biomechanical forces. It can result from a direct blow to the head or from a hit to the face, neck, or even the body that transmits enough force to the brain. Now, when this force occurs, the brain literally shifts inside the skull. That rapid acceleration and deceleration causes shear and tensile forces at the cellular level, especially at the junction of gray and white matter. Now, this movement disrupts neuronal membranes, leading to what's called a neurometabolic cascade. That's a series of chemical and cellular changes. There's a sudden release of neurotransmitters like glutamate, ionic shifts across neuron membranes, decreased cerebral blood flow, and an increased demand for glucose, all while energy supply is limited. That's why concussion is considered a functional, not structural injury. Standard CT and MRI scans are usually normal because there's no macroscopic bleeding or swelling, just microscopic changes in brain function. Now, clinically, concussion is defined by a rapid onset of short-lived neurological impairment that typically resolves spontaneously. But symptoms can evolve over hours. Loss of consciousness is actually uncommon. Most athletes never black out. Instead, you have to look for symptoms like confusion, amnesia, headache, dizziness, visual disturbances, balance problems, irritability, or even subtle cognitive changes. The bottom line here, a concussion is a functional brain injury from trauma, characterized by neurologic symptoms. You won't see a concussion on standard CT or MRI. It's diagnosed by what you, the physician, observe in the athlete and what the athlete reports to you. Symptoms like headache, confusion, dizziness, blurry vision, or just feeling off. Sometimes it's as dramatic as memory loss or as obvious as being knocked out. But a lot of the time, it's subtle and easy to miss. That's why I'm making this video. And that's why concussion protocols are so important in sports like boxing or MMA. A fighter might look fine and still have a real brain injury, one that needs to be caught early and managed the right way. Now, as physicians, coaches, and parents, we have to create a culture where athletes feel comfortable reporting symptoms without fear of losing their spot or looking weak. Reporting a possible concussion is a sign of strength and responsibility, not weakness. Now, let's drop into the ringside action. But wait, don't get rushed to see any action in ring just yet. We'll start way before the first bell. You see, every fighter first needs a baseline neuro exam. USA Boxing and most sanctioned bodies require it because you can't recognize a change in an athlete if you don't know what's normal for them. This assessment is an essential part of the pre-bout physical, which we discuss further in another video. My baseline assessment includes orientation, short-term memory loss, speech, eye movements, and balance. And if needed, I'll break out a tool like the SCAT5 or King-Devick test for a digital baseline. Now, remember, these aren't just boxes to check. They're your best chance at catching subtle changes that might occur later on. Even a minor language or memory shift after the fight can mean brain injury. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not grilling every single fighter with a rigid neuro exam checklist. The truth is, most of the time, a relaxed but focused conversation goes a long way, and it helps build trust with the athlete. I usually ask things like, hey, when was your last fight? Did you win? Have you been training hard lately? Anyone ring your bell in a sparring match recently? These aren't just icebreakers. They double as quick, targeted checks of memory, speech, and orientation. You're getting critical info, and the athlete feels seen, not interrogated. Now, when you're ringside, your job is simple. Watch. Every big headshot, every knockdown, every moment a fighter looks off, you have to catch it. My mental checklist fires instantly. Did they lose consciousness, even for a split second? Are they answering the ref? Are their eyes tracking? Or are they staring through the lights? Do they look glassy, confused, or off balance? Sometimes it's obvious, but sometimes it's just a subtle change. A hesitation getting up, a delayed response, a wobble on their feet. Now, the best ringside physicians spot the difference between toughing it out and something neurologically wrong. Now, if something seems wrong, a well-trained USA Boxing ref will usually step in and give the fighter an 8 count and stop the fight if necessary. But as a physician, you're the last line of defense. Don't let the crowd, the coaches, or even the fighter themselves distract you from your job. Now, in some other sports, you might not have a ref who's there to look out for you, so you've got to be proactive. Remember, you can always ask the ref to pause and call you up to the ring. This is your moment. Don't hesitate. Don't second guess. If you even suspect a concussion or loss of consciousness, you have to act. It's far better to stop a fight 1 round too early than 1 punch too late. Now, sometimes the toughest decision is to be the only person in the room saying, no, that's enough. But that's why you're there, to protect the athlete, even when it's unpopular. The more you trust your training and your protocols, the more fighters you'll keep safe for the long haul. Now, when I step up to a fighter after a big hit, every second counts. The first thing I do is steady them, hand on the shoulder, direct eye contact, and I start with simple, rapid-fire questions. Where are you right now? Who's your opponent? What round is it? How many fingers am I holding up? Now, I watch their eyes as they answer. Are they tracking smoothly? Or is there nystagmus or a vacant stare? I'm listening for slurred speech, confusion, or answers that don't quite make sense. If the fighter hesitates, looks lost, or can't recall basic facts, that's a major red flag. But the check doesn't end there. I also look for physical signs. Are they steady on their feet or swaying? Any vomiting or complaints of headache? Are they slow to respond, repeating questions, or just off compared to baseline? And here's the key. When in doubt, sit them out. If there's any suspicion of concussion, remove the boxer from play right away and keep them out for the rest of the day. It even rhymes. But seriously, no exceptions. No return to competition the same day, even if symptoms resolve. And remember, any sign of confusion, memory loss, vomiting, or loss of consciousness, even if it's brief, means an immediate stop. No debate, no pressure from coaches or fans changes that call. The athlete's safety comes first, always. Now, when it comes to spotting a concussion, there are 2 sets of clues: what you observe and what the athlete reports. Be sure to watch for these observed signs: the fighter looking dazed, stunned, or confused appearance, forgetting plays or instructions, moving clumsily or having trouble balancing, losing consciousness, even briefly, changes in personality or behavior, forgetting events before or after the hit. And as far as what the athlete reports, always ask about symptoms like headache or pressure in the head, nausea or vomiting, dizziness or balance problems, blurred or double vision, sensitivity to light or noise, and feeling sluggish, foggy, or groggy, difficulty concentrating or remembering, or just not feeling right. If you see any of these signs, treat them as a concussion and remove the athlete immediately. Now, post-fight, every athlete comes straight to me. Win, lose, or draw. This is where you do your real detective work. Repeat the orientation, memory, speech, and eye tracking tests. If anything changed from baseline, or if the fighter can't recall moments from the fight, I break out the full SCAT5 or King-Devick. These are evidence-based tools that help you document and defend your decision to pull a fighter. If a fighter fails, that's it. Removal from play is non-negotiable. Don't let coaches, fans, or the fighter themselves talk you out of it. This is a medical call, not a debate. Now comes the paperwork, our favorite part of medicine, I'm sure. But it is your legal shield. Be sure to document all major events. This can be tricky since you're not seeing a patient in your clinic and you might not have access to a full EMR. But you can make brief notes in a fighter's passbook, and tools like Ringside Network allow you to briefly document adverse events. Be sure to file an accident and injury report. Most sanctioning bodies mandate a minimum 30-day suspension after a concussion, sometimes longer for knockouts or loss of consciousness. The athlete can't return without formal medical clearance, and often a neuro exam or even imaging if symptoms persist. And remember, the boxer must not return to full practice or competition without written medical clearance from a healthcare provider. Now, there are certain danger signs that always mean an immediate trip to the ER. If you see one pupil larger than the other, difficulty waking up, persistent or worsening headache, slurred speech, repeated vomiting, seizures or convulsions, unusual behavior, weakness or numbness, or any loss of consciousness, call 911 right away so the fighter can get evaluated. Now, let's talk about what really matters after a concussion: recovery and coming back safely. Treatment always starts with two things: rest, both physical and mental, and close monitoring for any new or worsening symptoms. I make it clear to every athlete and coach, this isn't just about skipping practice for a day. For at least 24 to 48 hours, the athlete should avoid anything that makes symptoms worse. That means no contact sports, and also no heavy screen time, no intense studying, and no loud environments if those things trigger symptoms. Now, here's the return to play progression straight from the latest USA Boxing guidelines. Each stage should take at least 1 day, though sometimes longer, and never rush this process. Step 1, light aerobic exercise, like walking or stationary bike for 5 to 10 minutes. No weights, no impact. Step 2, moderate activity, light weightlifting, brief running, or bodyweight exercises, but still non-contact. Step 3, heavy, non-contact activity. We're talking full weights in the gym, sport-specific drills, mitts and bag work, but no sparring or contact. Step 4, full contact practice. If, and only if, totally symptom-free and cleared by a healthcare provider. And step 5, return to competition, with written clearance, of course. Now, at every stage, if symptoms return, the athlete must stop, rest, and drop back to the previous step. And remember, the athlete cannot return to competition on the same day as a concussion. No exceptions. Most guidelines require at least a full week of progression after symptom resolution before return to full contact. Now, I always send home a clear written checklist of what to watch for: headache, dizziness, vision changes, memory trouble, mood swings, sleep problems. If anything gets worse or if something doesn't seem right, seek medical help immediately. And finally, every athlete needs formal reevaluation and written medical clearance before they go back to contact sports. That's not just policy. It's about protecting their brain for life. At the end of the day, concussion protocols exist for a reason. You're not just protecting a fighter's record, you're protecting their entire future. If you're a ringside physician, never let pressure override your training. Know the signs, use your tools, and always, always document everything. I've been Dr. Yomi Adeyemi, and if you found value in this video, be sure to subscribe and check out the rest of our Ringside Medicine 101 series. Stay sharp, protect your fighters, and as always, stay dynamic. Peace.